The Earth's population has increased by roughly 200%, or 5 billion people, in the last 75 years. The Earth has never needed to sustain this many people, and if the population continues to grow, as projected, it won't be able to for much longer. The continuous growth of humanity's population is already causing problems for the planet. For example, the ecosystem changed more in the latter half of the 20th century than at any other point in history due to too many people using too many non-renewable resources. As the population's growth rate continues to be too high, more problems will arise. However, even with all of the previously mentioned evidence, millions of people disregard continuous population growth as a serious issue, though it could potentially cause disaster for the planet. My hope is that this video will raise awareness for the causes, effects, and solutions to continuous population growth. Several different factors contribute to continuous population growth, the most prominent being poverty. Insufficient educational resources, paired with high death rates, lead to very high birth rates. The UN predicts that the 48 poorest countries in the world are most likely to be the biggest contributors to population growth, with their populations expected to rise from 850 million in 2010 to 1.7 billion in 2050. Poor contraceptive use is another contributor to continuous population growth. According to the World Health Organization, only 43% of couples in developing countries use some form of contraception. Even in Great Britain, a surprisingly low 76% of women between the ages of 16 and 49 reported using some type of contraceptive. Having children is also easier to do than ever before, with improved fertility treatments making it possible for a number of women who are unable to conceive without such treatments to have children. In addition to birth rates, death rates also factor largely into continuous population growth. With medical facilities becoming more advanced in developed countries, life expectancy has increased. While humans living longer lives is certainly a good thing, the birth rate outstrips the death rate by a ratio of 2 to 1. As you can see, the main causes of continuous population growth will be very hard to counteract. Solving poverty is a tall order, and increasing the use of contraception won't be a cakewalk. Some causes, such as better medical facilities and advanced fertility treatments, are good things. Ways of solving the issue that aren't detrimental to society must be found. Continuous population growth will have disastrous effects on the overall standard of life, life expectancy in less developed countries, and on the environment. Currently, for everyone to live at European standards, which is roughly 60% of the consumption of the average American, there would need to be 2 billion people on the Earth. This data tells us that if the Earth doesn't have sufficient resources to support everyone now, the percentage of people living below the European standard will grow with the continued growth of the population, especially in less developed areas. If an effort isn't made to stop continuous population growth soon, the overall standard won't be the only thing to decrease in less developed countries. It is projected that as the population continues to grow, the average life expectancy will go down in poorer areas. Extremely high birth rates stretch the resources of less developed countries, making things such as medical care, fresh water, food, and jobs less accessible. All of these things result in a lower life expectancy, but perhaps the biggest effects will be reflected in changes to the environment. With more people comes a higher demand for land, which goes hand in hand with the destruction of natural habitats. Currently, we are using too many resources to have them naturally renew. Topsoil is used 10 to 40 times faster than it is formed. Oceans, the main source of protein for 2 billion people, are overfished. And since 1970, over half of the vertebrate species in the air, water, and on land have been lost. Hopefully, something will change before further irreversible damage is done. Solving the problem of continuous population growth will be an uphill battle. I believe the key ways we can fight it are providing better access to contraceptives, enforcing better sex education, and educating more people on the topic of continuous population growth. As previously mentioned, contraceptives are underutilized in both developing and developed countries. Access to contraceptives needs to be greatly improved. According to the World Health Organization, 225 million women in developing countries would rather postpone birth but aren't using any form of contraception. Better sex education is also necessary. The United Nations Population Fund is calling for such changes, especially in poorer areas of the world. It would help more people better understand the potential consequences of having sex, while also showing more people the effectiveness of scientifically proven contraceptives. While sex education and access to contraceptives are important, they are not the only ways to fight continuous population growth. In 1979, China introduced a one-child policy. The Chinese government reports that 400 million births were prevented. In a 2008 survey, 76% of the Chinese population voted in favor of the one-child policy. However, it was very controversial outside of China. In early 2016, China changed the one-child policy to a two-child policy. Although laws trying to fight growth rates may be effective, they limit the freedom of those who abide by them. Solving continuous population growth should be done by teaching people how to willingly not have kids and providing the necessary resources to do so. Unless there is no other choice, free will should not be restricted. Not enough people are educated on the topic of continuous population growth, and raising awareness is as easy as sharing this video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you have learned something useful.